Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to Old Reader, New Reader. First of all, thank you. Shout out to Gabby, my co-host for this
Oh,
evening.
thank you. I'm so excited to be here again.
Woo!
I
Yeah, Gabby and I
appreciate
got to
it.
hang out this past Sunday on Fangirls Assemble. Now we get to hang out
Yeah.
again,
Yeah, woo, I'm so excited.
and this time just us. It won't be as like crazy as when I had you on with like a billion people.
That was okay. It was fun. I liked everybody.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
So for people at home, we are talking about. I wish I had the physical books so I could be like,
Me too. I just have
here it
my
is.
iPad.
We are talking about sheets and delicates. Pretty sure Omnidog did make a funny joke. Didn't know Tuesday was laundry night. Just sheets and delicates, though. Got rid of some of my drawers. Um, James says, "Welcome back, Gabby. I think it's time
Oh,
for you and your
thank you.
dad to make a YouTube channel. Call it something like Father and Daughter Comic Board Games Madness."
I feel like there'd be a lot of arguing in like trying to get that done.
I
But
like
I'm
those.
open minded to it. I think that'd be fun at the end of the day.
Um, so I this is my first. I guess we're both new readers with this.
Yes.
Um, but people, and by people I mean Kristen, my co-host on Fangirls Assemble, and a lot of people have been talking about these like books forever. Like when Sheets came out. When Sheets came out, everyone was talking about it, and then when Delicates came out, everyone was talking about it. I was like, yeah, I'll read it eventually, and then it just never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw you guys talk about Sheets. I think I saw Kristen talk about it on one of your shows. And
Probably.
I looked at the cover. I think did she have a physical copy?
Oh yeah, she definitely does for both
Yeah,
of
I think
them.
I saw the physical copy and I was like, that's such a pretty cover. Like just like the vibe of that book. It's like I have to read it. And I was looking for it in like my local comic book store. We didn't have it, but we found a way. We read it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those like I mean, people can see from like the ads and stuff, and I should say this is also on Comixology Unlimited. That's how we both read it. One of the reasons that I chose it because it was very easily accessible. The trades are definitely not expensive at all. It's very even the trades are still they're in print, they're accessible. And they have very like pastel colors. This is a very like if you didn't go out of your way looking for it, you would assume it's like a typical YA graphic novel, maybe like by First Second or something else. Um, and I know a lot of people that are like hardcore big two comic book readers or like Image or Dark Horse that um weren't like right off the bat interested in Sheets. But then once they did read it, they're like, "Oh my god, this is fantastic! I can't believe I haven't read this yet." So many people that like would probably have discounted this book had not been recommended to them just because of the style. Now, for me, I don't know about you, I feel like we're probably similar. If I see a style like this, I'm like, yes, absolutely. This
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
But I remember Omar like loved this book. He loved Sheets, loved Delicates. Jess as well. A lot of people have this on like their top like picks. And so I'm glad that I finally got to that. Um, when we get in that room tour, Maddie. When I stopped being lazy and actually clean up the rest of it, that's really why. Because I could turn this around so you could see the rest of it, but it's a mess.
Yeah. I
So
want to
maybe
know
stay to the
too. I'm
end.
waiting for it too.
I'm in the doghouse now. I haven't heard of this series. Well, it's the perfect time to watch tonight. Okay, so speaking of Sheets and Delicates, so basically, I forgot the main character's name.
Marge.
Thank you,
You're
Marjorie.
welcome,
I knew
Marjorie.
you. Um, so the story centers around two main characters basically, but mostly this younger girl, Marjorie. She works at a laundromat. It's her parents, and her mother's recently passed away,
Mhm.
and so her father is still very deep in grief. Isn't able to do much, and a lot of like basically all of taking care of the laundromat and taking care of her younger brother and taking care of herself. That's all fallen onto Marjorie. So she has like a ton going on in her
Yeah.
life. And she's dealing with like trying to keep that in control, right? And all of that like trauma, while also not really fitting it in school. She gets made fun of. Um, there's a guy that she likes, but she doesn't know how to deal with that. And the laundromat customers, a lot of them are just awful. You've got this like this redheaded
Oh
woman
my
who's very
god. Don't even get
particular.
me started.
Oh God,
It
I
got
so
me
mad.
so irritated.
Yes. And then you have this mustachioed man, businessman in town,
The worst.
who definitely wants to shut down the laundromat so that he can buy out that space and use it to make this big yoga studio experience thing, which is a very like familiar motif as far as a character and like scenery. So she's dealing with all of this, which is a lot.
All at
It's
like 12 years old too. She's
Yeah,
very
it's
young. Like she's in middle
depressing.
school.
I know, and I kept
Yeah.
forgetting until the second book. I kept thinking she was in high school.
Me too. I got very high school vibes from it.
Like, who let this child run this laundromat? But I digress. So we move from that to our second main protagonist, whose name it starts with a W. What is
Wendell?
Wendell? I almost said Willard, and I'm like, that's not a name. Wendell.
That would have
So
worked for his name too, though.
yeah, Willard.
I think
So
so.
Wendell is a ghost. And the ghosts in this book all look like the stereotypical like ghost costumes, like the sheets, the eyes cut out. So basically, once you pass away, before you like I guess move on, or maybe don't move on, I'm not really sure how it works. You are given a sheet to wear as sort of like to inhabit because you have no corporeal form. So you basically just are the sheet. Hence the name Sheets. And he's living ghost town and hates it, and he's not ready to move on or address his death or anything.
Mhm.
So he sneaks on to the ghost train back to the real world and kind of just makes everything way worse for Marjorie. So that's like my initial like summary of what this first book is anyways. But this continues on into blankets or delicates, sorry, delicates. Because that is a continuation of her story. Because I wasn't sure when I was first reading it, looking at the covers, what that was going to be. But that's my non-spoilery version of what these books are about. But we will get into spoilers. Although once again, I say this a lot during shows that I feel like even though we're going to talk about it and talk about some of the spoilery things, I don't think the things we talk about are going to ruin your reading experience of these two books. Also, these are very quick reads. So if you're watching this later and you're like, oh man, I want to come back and read it and come back, totally cool. It's all in Comixology Unlimited. This will be available to view later, but I hope that you stay in here and hang out in the chat with us because it'd be nice. So, Gabby, Sheets, initial thoughts. We can talk about Sheets first and then we'll move on to Delicates.
Okay. So, reading this, I really didn't know what it was about, which is weird because on the cover you see like a ghost. So you're thinking, okay, it's called Sheets and there's a ghost, so like we kind of know more or less what it's about. But just like Cosmo Nights, I was reading it and I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
So it kind of starts off with Marjorie saying, I hate two things the most. It's like laundry and ghosts. So we're thinking, okay, those two things must be really significant in this girl's story. And I loved this story because it took something that was very simple, simple things and made them very meaningful, very deep, and such a moving story. Loved the art, loved the colors. At times, I really felt sad and irritated by the things that Marjorie goes through in this book. But I still loved it, and I think her character development was really good. And yeah, I loved it. And I think the second book was a great sequel, and it was perfect. Like, they both go together so well.
Mm-hmm. So digging into this first book is a lot of her kind of like her and her family dealing with their own trauma and getting through that, and also stuff with the laundromat, and also kind of like her and Wendell getting to where they need to be as like eventual friends and stuff.
Right.
But man, I love this book. I will start off with that. I did spend a lot of the book very sad and upset.
Yeah. I was just getting very like angry and
Yes.
upset. Like I just wanted justice for this main character because I
Yeah.
felt like she just wasn't getting it when I wanted to see it.
Yeah, because it's very cute looking. So you go in expecting one thing, and it does deliver that. But throughout this, right, you have this Marjorie just trying to like keep things together. And when Wendell first shows up, I was stoked. I was like, yes, Wendell's gonna show up, and
He's gonna
it's
help
she.
her.
Yeah, they're gonna be friends right away. She met him before he died. You know, this is gonna be really cool, and they're gonna like help each other. And it gets a while before Wendell does that because Wendell just like messes up all the sheets. He makes a mess of things and basically makes everything worse because everyone comes to the laundromat and is like pissed that their like clothes aren't clean or
Yeah.
whatever else. And oh my gosh, it's just so sad. And they're so mad at this like 13, 12-year-old whatever. It's rough. And yeah, no, and it's hard because you understand like what her dad's going through, but
Yeah,
her dad is doing nothing
her
and
dad,
she's running
yeah,
everything.
kind of just lets her, like, he's just grief stricken. We understand, but she's holding this laundromat down really well, and everyone's just emptying out their like emotional baggage from like their days at work and school right onto her. It was awful. Couldn't stand it.
Yeah, it's very irritating. And then poor Wendell, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He just knows that he isn't comfortable with like, because it starts off right with Wendell being in this sort of like ghost therapy group, and everyone's
Mm-hmm.
like, talk about how you died. Wendell, are you comfortable talking about how you died? And he just lies and comes up with this fantastical story because he
Right.
can't deal with it. I mean, makes sense. He was like 11 when he died, so now he's just 11
Mm-hmm.
forever. Very
Yeah.
Casper. And so he's just trying to get away, but doesn't know what else to do. And so like he's just trying to have a good time, but he just messes everything up and doesn't know how to fix it. In the meantime, like Wendell's not helping, but big mustachio businessman reminds me of the guy from like Bob's Burgers who like owns the town or whatever. Um, is trying to like also do everything to mess it up. Shows up and like cleans the windows, like, oh, it just looks dirty in here. This child, he's being made to this child, talking to this child, saying, "Oh, I want to buy you out. Oh, tell your
He was
dad."
very, very manipulative,
Yes.
taking advantage of her, and she knew she didn't have much other choices than the
Oh,
choices that he was
so
offering.
depressing.
And at first, she kept saying, no, like, get out of here. We don't need you. And then things would happen, like with the girl in school. I think her name was Tessie.
Oh,
and her mother. So
Tessie.
after there's a scene in this book where Tessie's mom, Tessie's like kind of the antagonist in the school.
Yeah, super popular, super mean. Her mom is definitely like a dance mom's kind of mom. For people
Yeah,
who watch that, or like a Toddlers
I
and
watched
Tiaras.
Dance Moms. Yeah, I can definitely see that. So there's a scene in here where Tessie's mom goes to Marge and says, okay, I need my daughter's dress like pressed and cleaned up and ready for this, I think, piano recital.
Piano recital.
And things happen, and Wendell kind of just messes up the dress.
Well, Wendell's trying to help, right?
He is, but accidentally messes up the dress.
Yeah.
And Tessie's mom sees this the next day, and Marge is like, I don't know how this happened. I'm so sorry. And then that's the moment where this guy, I think his name is Mr. Sabertalk.
Yeah, it's a weird name.
He's like, oh, well, you know what? This is the last straw. You have really bad rap around here. Like, you're done. You're going to have to let me take this property over. You're gone. Like, you either help me with this, like, yoga resort, or you're going to be homeless. And that's it.
Well, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, just give me an offer. Fine. He's like, no, I'm not going to give you an offer. Your business is ruined.
Yeah.
I've ruined your reputation. That's it. No one's going to come here. So it's either you guys go into debt, or I just take it off your hands and you have a place to work.
Yeah. And the whole time he said, okay, you have a place to work, you can work, right? And then at the end, it was like, oh, you have a room. Like, you have a room here. If you don't take it, you're homeless. Like, I'm taking this whole establishment down. Like, this is mine now. So he kind of changed, like, his offer. And she's like, okay, I guess I have to do that because I have no choice. I have no help. No one's helping me in this laundromat.
Yeah, and then so luckily, you know, because by the time like Wendell's trying to help, she's already too mad and assumes it's just him. Until later when Wendell talks to her and is like, oh, well, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Like, that man came in here and like put red dye in the detergent.
Stain it, yeah.
Like, and I thought it was something else, so I emptied it. And she's like, oh, wait, he's been doing this whole time. And he's trying to, and then so she's finally like, okay, I need to get my way back, right? Which luckily it ends up being worked out where they kind of scare him away with the ghost and everything else. But I was surprised though, because there's this one scene where she's really depressed. She washes all the sheets that he brings in, and ends up sending the ghost with him. And Wendell kind of messes with him in the house, which is great. But then the businessman comes back and he's like, how dare you sneak a ghost in here and the sheets? And she's like, how do you know? And he doesn't really address it. He's just like, of course I know about ghosts. And I was like, how? Do you often have like run-ins with ghosts? It's like, it's just they don't explain it.
Yeah, because usually it's like, am I seeing things? Are ghosts actually here? But he's just like, I know it was her. I know it. And just didn't think that it was him hallucinating or anything. He had a lot of pride and thought that he was always right, that he didn't even think like, maybe am I like hallucinating? Am I actually seeing these ghosts? Let me just blame this 12-year-old child. This guy had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But move on from this guy. He's terrible. Move on.
So basically we get to the end, right, where we have this beautiful scene, this really sweet scene where she's getting so mad at Wendell. And like, you just need to leave. Everything's gotten worse since you've been here. My life has been ruined because of you. You just need to go. And she's also still dealing with grief, too. So to see a ghost that's not her mom come to visit is probably not helping.
It sucks.
And to have one that died in a similar way to her mother probably also didn't help. And one that she knew in real life. But he goes back and like basically throws himself to the wolves, and the ghost police know he's going to get in trouble. They're like, hey, you're not allowed to interact with people. What are you doing? He's like, no, listen, we have to help her. Please. Like, we can make it all better. And it works, which is, we get this super cute scene where all the ghosts go back to help her. They scare that man away. And they clean up all the clothes for her with like special ghost, like laundry detergent.
Ghost-erizer, I think.
Yeah, ghost-erizer, which makes sense because they have to wash their own sheets, right? And even like it, they like they iron each other out, which is like a massage, which is really cute. And just the way they all kind of just help each other out at the end, and the way that community gets formed is really cute. It reminds me of like Halloween Town, and that kind of like fun, spooky, but like wholesome spookiness. It was like, oh, now the ghosts are our family now. They're our friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I loved. I think it wrapped up very well with all of that. But I was heartbroken about the mom thing. That was rough.
Oh, yeah. I know. You know, I just realized I see a lot of like, you kind of have a lot of similarities between Wendell and Marge. Like in the beginning, you kind of see him in this like community of ghosts, and they're all like speaking. It's kind of like, I don't even know what to describe it. I think it was called like DYE, and like that was like an acronym. Like,
yeah, because he saw the die and thought it was empath, right? Dead youth empath.
Yeah, like some kind of like therapy, like group. And like you said, he was kind of like telling these stories, right, that weren't true. And then, you know, there was this girl next to him that was like, yeah, okay, sure, right? So he's just kind of trying to fit in, and so is Marge. And in this book, you kind of see her trying to push him away, right? But they both need each other, I feel like, because they relate to each other. and she's kind of feeling, she's going through something similar in her high school. And she even says, like, I feel invisible. Like, I feel like a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a lot of like similarities to each other, which I think is really cool. I think the author does that very well.
Oh yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned the whole like her saying like I feel like a ghost, but I don't want to be a ghost because I think we're gonna discuss the opposite of that for next book.
Yeah.
But I did like how it ended with both of them getting in the water together because also throughout this, Marge has been too afraid to get in the water, but she used to be a swimmer. Ever since her mother, who like she had hit her head in the pool and drowned, so she's been too afraid to go back into the water, and so is Wendell, who also drowned, and that's how he
Yeah.
died. Um, and so it was nice to have that culmination of like one, she has a group of friends now with these ghosts. Her father has finally stepped up at the end. Like things are just a lot better off than the beginning of that book. And everyone knows that businessman's a crook. Do you think that was Wendell that gave Marge the cookie in the corn patch? Absolutely, because he
Yeah,
even
it was.
says that he wore the lion hat around. That's all he remembered about himself.
When they revealed that, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh no.
It's so
I should have
sad.
saw it coming. But when you see her doing research on him and like searching his name and everything, and then you see that it's revealed that that was him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. Like a jaw drop.
I know. I would have been a lot nicer to him than she was after
Oh
finding
yeah. Me too. Me too.
I'll probably get this book and save it for October. It's a good October read. I think
It
I'd
is.
like to read again for October,
The
especially
second
to put
one-
with your like spooky stuff. Like have it, you know.
Yeah. I think the second one is even more fall.
Let's get into delicates. I was surprised that the main character continued because I thought it would be whoever was on the cover.
Right.
But I love the way they did this, and I think I heard from some people that they prefer delicates more. I think Kristen said that. I think I also
agree.
prefer
I
delicates more.
agree. Yes, I think so too.
And I was angry in this one, but I was less angry. I had more to care about.
I was more sad in this one.
Oh, so sad.
The first one, I was more angry. The second, sad.
Yeah, I think those who read this are probably going to be more angry at Marge than they were in the first one. Because
Yep.
the first one, you're like, you really feel for Marge. And Marge is kind of starting to get her life together enough to where she can live, but she still can't navigate. She still is that type of middle schooler that just doesn't know how to navigate friends groups yet. She cares too much about what people think of her, which causes her to be a little self-centered and a little unaware and a little mean to those people that could be her friends or who are close to her.
Right.
So the ghosts are now hanging out in the laundromat. They like hanging out there with her. They help her clean the clothes. They let her use the you said it before, the
Ghosterizer.
Ghosterizer
They help her-
detergent.
Yeah, they help her keep the laundromat running.
For those special stains.
Yeah.
The family's a lot better off now. They're happier. She's got a group of friends, but it's a crappy group of friends, and she's kind of dating that boy, but not really. Which honestly I appreciated because like they could have had a different route with this, where this guy who was like kind of flirting the last book ends up being like the really nice guy who just has like a crappy group of friends. But if this guy was really nice, would he have ever hung out with those people in the first place?
I think he was terrible.
He's terrible.
Yeah.
Awful guy.
There was no hope for him.
Yeah, so she still's like kind of like is and isn't with this guy Colton, and is kind of forced to kind of hang out with his friends because she doesn't really have any. But she's doing her best. She wants to have a crew. She's trying to get it, but she's also like Wendell and the ghost are still her best friends, and she doesn't know how to navigate it. And Wendell's starting to feel like, oh, okay, she thinks she's too cool to hang out with me, a ghost. So it feels like on the surface a very typical like, okay, we've hit our second season of CW, they're running out of things, right? Or like Netflix's Never Have I Ever. That's relatable to me and not people who read comics typically. But I digress. And we're introduced to another character who I love.
Oh, me too.
Do I love her enough to remember her name? No. But I love her.
Eliza, Maddie.
Eliza, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
will one day take notes. Today is not that day. So Eliza, we're introduced to Eliza. She is the daughter of the PE teacher, swim teacher, who was mentioned in the first season. He was a big character. We just didn't talk about him a lot, but one that really cared about Marjorie. And we learned that his daughter Eliza was held back because even though she's really really smart, socially she's not really ready for the next to go on to the next year, to go on to high school. And they don't mention it, but I got the vibe that she was autistic, is autistic. And this is
I actually didn't
me,
think so. I didn't.
my neurodiverse self,
Maybe.
assuming, because she doesn't like to be hugged. She has a special interest,
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I could
and
see
she's
that.
very like honest and focused. But I could be reading into it. But her special interest is taking photos, but specifically of ghosts. She's super into
The
ghosts.
paranormal.
Yeah. And so, we're introduced to her as she sees Marjorie talking to herself, but actually talking to Wendell, who's in her backpack, and is like wicked, only thinking about ghosts. And because really, she wishes she could be like a ghost. She wishes she could just be invisible and not have to like be in anything. And oh my gosh, that's my quick beginning summary of Delicates. But let's get in it, because this is a lot heavier than the first one. Sure, we dealt with death and stuff, but we also dealt with like the zany, like, oh, big wig in town trying to close the laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
But man, ooh, oh my gosh, Brenna, hi, thanks for joining. I love your
Hi.
Thanks for saying hello. But yeah, let's get into it. This wrecked me. She wrecked me, and I spent my whole time mad at Marjorie because I was like, please, this special girl and Brennan, whoops, uh, like, Eliza is such a sweet bean. She really is, just doing her best, and she had such great commentary throughout because she's trying to make those like steps with Eliza, even after Eliza's kind of mean to her. Start with Marjorie, even after Marjorie's mean to her, which is rough. It's rough to watch it, especially like the trick-or-treating night. Killed me.
And then you have like her parents who are trying to get her to socialize and make friends. And to a certain extent she probably does, but on the flip side she kind of just is content with this photography. But as a parent, you do want to see your kid like just flourish, have a good group of friends that care about them. But just that kind of desire to want to have this friend, because I think out of everyone in that school, she sees Marge as her potential friend. So it's like part of her is like, I want to befriend her. Yeah, I want to befriend her. And then I also I'm content with this photography that I'm doing. But people around me are giving me crap for this thing that I love. So
yeah, like as someone who's like, I really related a lot with Eliza because like I'm neurodiverse. Like I was one of my siblings who's very much like comfortable, just I can take care of myself. I have my hyperfixations. I'm good to be by myself. And those tend to be the kids that like, and even the parents here say it, they're like, oh, we spend so much time with your sisters because they're active. And we know you can take care of yourself, so we don't worry about you as much in the same way. They kind of like let her do her own thing. But that can be really dangerous, as we see, when someone is left to kind of their own thoughts and isn't really getting the care that they need. Not that like there's always a perfect way to deal with it, right? But we learn that a lot where like she says this great thing during the trick-or-treating night when she's talking to Wendell, because they're both really upset because Wendell's been kind of like kept inside because Marjorie's too embarrassed to bring him out, especially because the friends she's hanging out with are like, Eliza's a freak for talking to ghosts.
I remember in that scene she said, oh, like just because I'm invited doesn't mean that I feel that I'm wanted.
Yeah, there's a
And then
difference between being invited and actually
yeah,
being part of it.
and then Wendell was like, "Well, at least you were invited."
Yeah.
My
Oh,
ghost self, like, Marge is too embarrassed to even let me out the house. Like, at least you were invited. That kind of, when he responded, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it kind of was, because she's like, Eliza's all like sad, and he's like, well, at least you could go out, kind of made the situation a little bit more lighthearted.
well, and
But
their little friendship was so cute.
yeah, yeah. I wrote something down that Eliza says, and I think this is when she's like developing her film. She says, humans are delicate too. The teensiest mistake can ruin them, even if you do everything else right. Just because
Yeah.
mistakes seem small and insignificant doesn't mean they are. And I loved it, because you were saying like how her parents are kind of focusing more on her sisters because they're more active and she can kind of take care of herself. But sometimes people who are the most independent, the strongest, right? They need people to check on them and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, how are you doing? Like, you want to go out? Like, even when you think someone's strong and like independent and they've got it, those people are the most delicate sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
they're, tired of having the world on their shoulders. They kind of need a break. They need someone to say, hey, like, you want to come out tonight? I love that quote. I wrote it down. I have it forever. I love it.
Jessica, that guy make me cry on a random Tuesday. I know, I'm about to.
I sobbed reading this. I'll tell you where.
Oh,
I will tell you where later.
Scotty. 你是一个很棒的人，用它来帮助树立的. Okay, I can't read pinyin, but the first part I know. Thank you. Thank you so much, Scotty G for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I googled this. I did in Chinese. You did great. The first part is 你是一个很棒的人, is you're a great person. I don't understand the rest, but I still appreciate it. Yeah, it's just it's beautiful, that whole part, and then we just continue to get wrecked. After that, just straight wrecked, because Colton and all his loser friends. Oh, now it 帮助学历你的电脑. Okay. 或买一瓶好酒. Oh, now I understand.
Me too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I would love to get back to my computer upstairs. But this is working. Thank you, Scott. You're so sweet. So then they go and bully her, which is devastating, because she's hanging out in the lighthouse and she thinks it's Wendell, but it's all these jerks.
I was so confused at first. I'm like, who are? And then you see their sneakers underneath the sheets. Like, who are these fuckers? Like,
I was excited at first. I was like, oh, all the ghosts are gonna go say hi to her because it's Halloween. They can be out. And they're like, psych, it's a bunch of losers. They're so mean.
And then, yeah, she was saying, Tessie was telling Marge, like, oh, like, I took her little pin, the pin that was protecting her from all of the spirits. Haha, it's in my room, like some trophy. And then I think that was when Marge was really starting to pull away and realize, like, this is not right what you're doing. Yeah. I can't associate myself with you anymore. That's when she realizes it. And that's when I was like, I think in the first book, Marge was kind of going through a lot, and like things happened to her on top of each other and gives you that like sense of irritation. And in this book, you can feel that with Eliza. It's like things just pile up on top of her, and she's just, there's a scene where she's with Marge in the lighthouse and she's just like, I'm done.
Oh man, we gotta talk about it too. It's rough, but we gotta talk about it. Because it takes Marge a little too long, but which is very real. Because you have someone that went through so much trauma in the first book and got to where she's comfortable, and now she's in the in group. But you still have to learn how to like take care of the people that need it and be empathetic, while not worrying about like losing your standing. Because she finally has it. She finally feels like she has a life together. and she's so afraid of losing it to the point where she ignores like the important people in her life, which is so real.
I've been
You
there.
know,
We've been there.
it's
Like,
so real. Yeah,
yeah.
it's growing up, right? But oh my gosh, because it takes her a little too long to recognize the things she needs to recognize, both with Wendell, who's like ready to dip, and especially with Eliza, which is a heartbreaking because we get to that point where, you know, Eliza's just being Eliza. She's not trying to do anything like she knows who did this to her. She knows who kind of bullied her, but she's not trying to get back at them. She just wants her pin. She's
And her
still a very
picture.
friendly person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she happens to see a ghost, so she's like, I'm gonna take a picture, right? And gets the two gets was it Tessie? Trissy.
Mm-hmm. Tessie.
Tessie and her
Such a
mom doing
weird,
yoga together.
so weird, Tessie.
Which
I've
I
never heard
love
that.
because like everyone warped that, like, oh, you're trying to start stuff. But very much Eliza, who was very focused, very honest, very like she's not thinking about this other part of it. She's like, oh, I saw a ghost, it's cool. And and they destroy her photos in return
Yeah.
as if she did this maliciously and with malicious intent, which is heartbreaking. You know, James, every time I say Eliza, I also think about Hamilton.
No, I love
So
Hamilton.
it's hard not to think about it. You know, which ultimately drives her, of course, to where she wants to give up everything. She's done. She's like, I'm gonna give up taking photos. I'm gonna give up ghosts. I'm gonna go be a ghost. And you have this heartbreaking scene where she takes a sheet and cuts the eyes out
Yeah.
so she can walk around as a ghost
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't want to exist anymore.
Right.
Which is so poignant and sad. You just see her walking through, and it's just devastating.
You see her glasses a little bit.
Yeah,
Baby.
baby.
It's such a, because in the first book you have Marge saying, I just want to feel a little bit less invisible. And then you have Eliza saying, you know, I want to be invisible when I want. Like, I want to be able to be invisible and only be seen when I want to be seen.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of have this hobby and just do it without anyone seeing, without anyone giving me a hard time for it, and just be myself, you know?
Yeah.
Well, in the same sense, wanting to have a friend, having someone support her.
Ugh. And yeah, it culminates in, of course, Marjorie finally getting her shit together, apologizing to Wendell for being a big old butt and telling people she doesn't like ghosts, and apologizing to the other ghosts.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, hey, I know, my bad. I was really bad. I didn't appreciate you like I should have, but I need your help to go find Eliza.
Mm-hmm. And he like tells her, he goes, you need to fix this. You need to fix this.
Yeah.
He tells her. It's like, okay, let's just put all of like our differences aside right now. I know we don't like each other right now, but let's just do this for Eliza.
And luckily they find her before anything happens.
Yeah.
And I won't say what she was gonna do, but you know what she's gonna do.
You kind of know.
But she's able to kind of get to her and speak with her and make amends before she makes a decision that she can't undo. Which is such like a real and just heartbreaking moment. Because you see absolutely how she got there. Ugh. This baby. This baby.
And you see throughout the book, you know, she's very stoic looking, like very like strong. Every time she has like an awkward encounter, anytime someone bullies her, she kind of has like this strong face, like, okay, whatever, you know. And then you see her in this lighthouse and she's just like broken down. And that like supports what I said before about how the people who look like they've got it, people that look like they're successful and happy all the time, they're the ones that can be the most broken. Mm-hmm. So let's make sure they're good, that they're, you know, taken care of, because everyone needs love, no matter how like strong you are.
Ugh. I mean, this seems like a little cute little book, but you're gonna go through emotions.
Yeah. Oh, you know, this scene that I really cried because so when Eliza and Wendell, they're like going into the water, and Wendell's like, this is how far I go. This is how far I'm comfortable going. And then Eliza's like, why? And he's just like, that's just the way it is. Like he can't like really say anything about it. And then he goes, well, if I go further, would you think that I'm cool? And
Would
she's
you be
like,
my
yeah,
friend?
yeah. And then he goes further. And then what really made me cry was when I realized how traumatic that must be, water in general.
Yeah.
And he was willing to just do it for someone that he like just met to get the acceptance of. And I was just sobbing. Sobbing.
Well, and then even worse, and wonderful and worse, is the end with the dance. Because they've been planning the school dance. Everyone's been throwing out these ideas. But Marjorie, in an attempt to basically make up mostly for Eliza, but also it works twofold because it's something that works out for Wendell as well. Again, very Casper. Suggests why don't we make it about ghosts? Because the whole book, Eliza's like, listen, it would be cool if it's a ghost dance. It's like 2 weeks after Halloween. It should be a ghost dance. It'd be about ghosts. And everyone's like, you're a loser because they suck. I don't know what's fun. But she's like, hey, if we all wear sheets, like those types of ghosts, no one knows who each other are. You don't have to worry about how you look or how you dress or like how you move. It's okay. Because that's mostly what people dread about dances at this age is that, they're nervous the whole time.
Right. And I think someone after like that whole idea was presented like, oh, it can be like a masquerade type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm down.
Absolutely. And so it has this twofold thing because Eliza gets to, be in an environment that supports her interest in what she cares about. And also it's, someone is like pushed for that for her, which is like a true act of support. And then also Wendell, who said, I always wanted to go to like a ball and like dress up and dance, but he's dead. So he can't do that. So he gets to go because everyone's dressed like this. And it's just the sweetest moment. And even sweeter, we get to this point where Eliza's like, but what if I do want people to see me?
Yeah. He's like, well, I see you. Or something like that. Marge says like, oh, well, I see you. I know you. I see you.
Yeah.
And that was just so powerful. Because everyone just wants to be seen,
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
It's just sweet at the end, they kind of get a common interest together and they can do some more things together. I'm trying to say stuff without like spoiling everything.
I feel like I spoiled everything. I'm sorry.
No. I think, again, like most books, listening to someone talk about it, as long as they're doing like a play-by-play, it's never gonna ruin the whole experience. It's gonna be very different, even if you have a kind of basic understanding of what's happening in the book. I think it's one thing for us to talk about what happens and what we feel about it, but it's a whole other thing to read it and combined with the art and the colors, and the dialogue and how it's all written, seeing it happen, than us telling you about it. It'll still hit you regardless. But man, okay, so I feel like there's still much more to say about it, but we should get our ratings in.
Okay.
And then we can just hang out, talk about the book some more, talk about whatever. I will let you go first.
Okay.
Feel free to rate them separately or together.
So I think for the first book, it made me sad and I got a little irritated. So at first I was toying between a 4 and 5, but I think it's a 5. It's definitely a 5 now. I think Delicates was even better. Yeah. So I like them both. I will give them both 5s. I think that they were brilliant and everything was so connected in more ways than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
perfect compliments to each other.
Yeah.
So, good job on that. Yeah, I gave them both 5 on Goodreads. I would say 9 out of 10 for the first one, 10 out of 10 for the second one.
Yeah, I agree.
I love both of them. I think, it's, and I really hope that nobody looks at these books as like, okay, it's pastel's not for me and walks away from it because I think you're missing something that's very well written and very poignant. And the messaging throughout really complements one another. And it's heart-wrenching. I think anybody can relate to this. Anybody's been at a point in your life where you can relate to what these middle schoolers are going through. Loved it. That's really good. Sheets 8 out of 10. Delicates 10 out of 10. Gabby's therapy
Oh,
session
thank
11 out of
you.
10. Cattail cameo tonight 100 out of 10. Yeah, she's hanging out the window right now.
Oh, cute. So cute.
Yeah, Joe, get on it. Also, I loved all the photography stuff in the second one because I also do photography, so I was like, hey, stuff I understand.
Yeah. Eliza's just, her quotes, so good. Everything that she said, I was just like, wow, that was brilliant. I never heard someone say it like that. And then,
Eliza's MVP.
yeah, like humans are delicate. And then the book is called Delicates. And it's about ghosts who have sheets and like
It's so
the
cute.
laundry. It works.
Now, I don't know if we're getting another one. I don't know if Brenna is still here. Which, first of all, I love you. Second of all, we're getting another one, right? Are we getting another one? I do know they released the collector's edition, or they're going to release the collector's edition this year. But Brenna, if you are here, you can tell us you're thinking about another one. That'd be cool. She's here! Brenna!
Oh,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming. That's so nice.
I'm so excited.
I love this, and I want more of Eliza always. I'm Team Eliza. December 28th. Ah! Is that for the collector's edition? Yes, it is. Okay. I will be picking that up because I read it all on Comixology Unlimited, but now I need to own it. And I think people here will agree. Let's go ahead and awkwardly pre-order it during the show because that's
how
what
I
I do.
felt with Sweet Tooth. I read it digitally, and I was like, I need this physically. There's no way that I can just have it on my iPad. No, it needs to be mine.
Yeah, and Brenna, we're not saying it because you're here, but I do think this is a book that is good to own and then like pimp out to your friends.
Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, I feel like, which I understand because Chris has been trying to get me to read this forever, and now I feel bad that I waited. But I feel like this would be me with like this, like Cosmo Knights and Upgrade Soul, because I just like here you go.
Yeah.
Oh man, Brenna, thank you. You guys are the coolest. Happy to answer any questions in 200 characters or less. Well, chat if you have any questions for Brenna. I would think of questions, but now I can't because you asked for any questions.
On the spot.
Also, Brenna, I don't know if you like talking about comics or reading comics and chilling on live shows, but you're always welcome. I don't interview people anymore because it stresses me out. But I love hanging out with comic creators and talking about books. Meow Nyan, Mars on Over Your New Reader when? Get some manga melodrama in here. Also check out the Taiwanese TV adaptation of it. Good way to practice your Mandarin. Meow Nyan, you know I've watched all of the Taiwanese Mars. Come on. Middle school, high school Maddie watched a lot of Taiwanese TV shows. But I love the manga so much. James asked, when Delicates will get a collector's edition? Well, my recommendation is to buy the Sheets collector's edition because money talks. And if we all buy that, then I'm sure we can get a Delicates collector's edition. Oh, it stresses me out too. I'm always happy to. I'll send you a message sometime. That's why I love just chilling and talk about the books. Not sure. Hopefully one day. Well, everybody, make sure you buy the collector's edition. That comes out in 4 days. I didn't even time that on purpose. That just worked out.
It did work out really well.
Oh, Upgrade Soul came in from the library today. I'm ready to be emotionally devastated and reevaluate life. I think I'll make sure on my list of like books to recommend, but not tell people not to like look up anything about. I feel like it's gonna be Upgrade Soul and like Sheets and Delicates. Because I feel like it's better if I don't look up anything. Because I went in not knowing anything. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a cool ghost hanging out.
Yeah, me
and I was
neither.
like,
I had no
no,
idea.
do you want to be really sad and mad at people?
And read a very deep, very insightful story. That's what you get.
And also, I'm like, I want to put cute ghosts on things now.
Oh my god, me too. So cute.
I want to do cute little sheet ghost photo shoots. for October. How did you learn Mandarin Chinese? I assume it's Mandarin. I stayed in college and I lived in China for a while. I've been several times, so I studied a bunch. That's the secret. Oh, Brenna question from Jessica. Jessica, you always got good questions, girl. Jessica asks, what was your inspiration for the original concept? I'm also curious. I also really want to know if Eliza is autistic or like neurodiverse because I get the impression, but I don't want to assume personally.
Oh, I just thought of something that was funny. When they're trick-or-treating,
Yeah.
and Eliza goes to one of like the friend group, Tessie's friend group. She goes, "Are you a mop?"
Oh yeah. Like what is he, like a scarecrow guy or something? It's cute.
She's like, "No." Just like, it's not good for their egos. I loved it.
Brent says, it started as a college assignment. In short, I imagined ghosts as sheets and thought a laundromat would be very fun for them. It developed from there. It is very fun. I love the idea of like the ironing them as like a little massage.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
Like when Wendell first gets there and like treats himself, is like, oh yeah, that's hit the spot.
So cute.
Eliza is unofficially on the spectrum. Yay! I thought so. One neurodiverse person to another. I was like, I'm picking up a vibe. We have like a radar for each other. I'm ADHD, so it's different, but I too have hyperfixations, and one of them is taking pictures. The whimsy helps bring levity for sure. Absolutely. If there wasn't cute, he's so cute. All the ghosts are so cute, and I think it helps a lot with sad things happen.
They all have like little things that like distinguish them too.
Yeah.
Like one had like a little like headband with a flower, and I thought it was so cute. I think one had glasses.
Yeah.
So cute.
And Wendell's Halloween costume.
Oh yeah. Like, why would you put a costume on top of a sheet?
Hey, it worked out because they were like, yeah, if you were just a sheet ghost, it would be lame. It's like, it sounds like middle schoolers. Is this book based on any city? Because you do mention Pennsylvania in the first book. Finster Bay is imaginary, but the scenes are based on a town in Ohio called Geneva on the Lake. Finster Bay is a fictional Pennsylvania town on Lake Erie, though. Nice. There's a real town in Ohio called Geneva on the Lake. That's hilarious. That's close by. All right. We are getting close to time, but we can always take a couple more questions. There's a couple more things from the chat. While I'm waiting, I will say that I will be here next week reading our Patreon vote, which I would tell you what it is, but I forgot to check the Patreon before I started today's video. So keep an eye out. I will post what that's going to be because I need to plan to read it. And also, thanks again to Gabby for hanging out.
Of course, I had so much fun today.
This is great. It was such a great read today. And thanks for Brenna hanging out. I'll send you a message sometime.
Thank you
want
so
to come
much.
hang out with us. We do this every Tuesday, so you know. I hope you'll like this video. If you're catching us later, comment down below and tell us what you thought about Sheets and Delicates, or if you have any recommendations for next books to read. I'd love to hear it. Again, if you're interested in reading Sheets and Delicates, you can read that on Comixology Unlimited. You can also purchase them. And shout out to the collector's edition for Sheets coming out in just 4 days. So jump on that now because you know everything sells out so quickly now. But if you are a collector of comic books, so please, because if you want a collector's edition of Delicates, you best be buying the collector's from Sheets. But yeah, I hope you all have a good night, and we will catch you soon.
Night, everybody.
Night.